Welcome to my idea. My idea is about making great software and making sure that big corporations are not able to patent my idea. I want to set up a community of developers and people that can build upon my idea, and we can all share the code under GPL v2. It's very important that we get this out here because this software has the potential to be used for a lot of good, or potentially, if somebody wants to patent it, a lot of evil. And I'd rather I didn't invent this than invent this and allow big corporations to take control of essentially my freedom-based idea. And the reason is because I need to get this information out. If you can help me to do that, please get this information out. If you can get me into a conference or allow me to share these ideas, I would love it. So what is my idea? My idea is an application that's turnkey for a lot of data. In fact, I've even mapped out the data in the back end in, text documents and so forth, and I have to implement it. But when you start with a word processor, PowerPoint, publisher, or any sort of medium or data, you are starting with a blank canvas. And largely I find that we are missing out on a lot of creativity because these documents aren't encompassed in one application. Software vendors want to bundle as many suites of applications as they possibly can so that they can maximize their profits. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not against people making their software and making software and money. I'm against patenting. And when you see this idea, you'll realize how big this really is. It is all about the artboard and the connectivity of the artboard. So for example, if we take a look at an artboard, you can have audio, text, images, and all kinds of things. And you'll see how great this idea is. You can also have web pages. Again, web pages are just simply data. It's data that's in a design format, so it's slightly different, but they do need slightly different tools, whether you're making a Word document or whether you're making a web page. You also have 3D VR, which I'll get onto. We also have writer art as well. You also have slides and presentations. Slides and presentations are basically PowerPoint. You can also have your attached files such as videos. Videos are their own format. Then you have audio. You have databases, code projects, and Excel spreadsheets. And you're going, Lawrence, this is insanity. An application that can do all this. Yes, absolutely. In fact, if you study user interfaces and how many applications are actually editing your data, you'll see that half the code base is simply repeated. For example, alignment of text, line height of text, all this stuff is repeated over a graphics editor or even a vector editor. It doesn't really matter, but now we want a tool that allows us to connect everything together. And how amazing would that be? Let me just demonstrate via one artboard. So the basics of one artboard, you can attach audio and you can edit audio in this application. So you can go into the audio, you can edit the audio, and then you can have it visualized on the canvas. You can actually make some art for it, or you could have an equalizer animation, which would look really great. And you can have that right on the canvas. No other graphic software will be able to deliver that because it's just a graphic software. Maybe now you're starting to see the power of this, but let's continue. You also have the text, for example, and you can have columned text and you can have all sorts of amazing things. But what about this? Wow, we have a database integration. So now we can connect to a database, be it Postgres, MySQL, or Oracle databases, and we can simply get the information and link it up to the database. That means multiple artboards across a business, for example, can have a database and it can all link together. We can put text in there, we can share information across our artboards, we can create beautiful slide presentations with our company documents in a database. We store that information in the database and we print it out on a beautiful looking artboard. We let the designers do the designing, the people that run the data do the data, and everything comes together in one application. Maybe now you're starting to see even more powerful things, but let's move on to get even more powerful. Let's take a look at the Excel side of things. Simple spreadsheets, companies use them all the time, and they use them for marketing figures, for time planning and so forth. Spreadsheets are very useful, but again, on their own, they have limited capacity. Now we all know that what you can do is make graphs and charts, but what about putting that into an art-based environment or a artboard environment? So we take what we have here, which is data from an Excel spreadsheet. So if I click on that, I'm able to edit that in one application where I can modify all of the data and then simply have that data printed out as a chart. You could even have 3D charts. You can have animated 3D objects to represent your data. You can even share that data and put it into your database, which makes it even more powerful. The possibilities of this are now starting to open up of a one application that's able to edit most things. Then we move on to video. Video is fantastic, but you can use it as a texture on this artboard. So you can warp it, you can move it, you can do some of the most amazing effects in the world just by using this artboard. And let me show you something else that's really incredible with when you mix a video project. So you can go in, you can see here we've got live previews and you previewing the art here. What you can have is you can have, for example, an SVG chart, an animatable 3D chart, whatever it is. You can have database text linked right in on top of the video. So this is an artboard. The video is an artboard. The video project is an artboard, whereby you can edit your video project, you can interlink it with database technology, you can interlink it with spreadsheet technology, you can interlink it with any one of those formats and technologies. You can literally have it right there in the browser and or the one-side application. You can literally have it right there in one application. This is now a really powerful idea, and we must make sure to keep it open. And I will keep reminding you of that because we'll come on to how to make money out of open source software. So basically, we can have graphs and charts on here. We can have animatable 3D objects even on this video canvas. And then not only that, once you have an artboard, this is an artboard that can have all of this. So if you look at the video artboard, it can have the text, it can have the wrappable text, it can have the audio visualization over the top of the video in the video project. It can have text from a database put into the video project as well, even Excel, and even coded canvases as well, which we'll move on to in just a second. But this is why this idea is so powerful. So you imagine you go into here, you add some text from a database, you add the chart onto your video project and you render the video. Now you go back out and you go to your artboard and now you can manipulate that. You can use it as a texture, you can scrub it, you can warp it, change it, move it, apply all sorts of filters to it. It's its own little artboard. So we've got artboards embedded in artboards, and that allows for the power of this application to really work. And if you want to have a demonstration of what this could look like, I can probably pull that up for you. When you look at this example, this is actually a video element being rendered on 3D cubes. And when these cubes come together, you will be able to see the video, but you can see that the video is actually a texture within a 3D environment. You can have all of this inside of an artboard. And that's where the coded canvas comes in and other parts of this application come into their own effect. But you'll notice as it's coming in, you can clearly see this is a video texture. So imagine that you have this video texture here, you can make it any video you want, and that's an artboard texture. So literally, you could have that right there. You could have this break up into 3D cubes, you could have this do all sorts of amazing particle effects with video, and you can make it look absolutely astonishing. Something that no other software will really just let you do like that. This is specialized, and now with this type of application, you can do it at the click of a button. Then also you have Code Canvas. Now at the moment this isn't actually interactive. And you can see here that this is actually a WebGL project, a Canvas project if you will. And what this does is it actually allows you interactivity. Now imagine I have this interactivity right here in my canvas. Again, this is the most powerful software that you can possibly ever make when it comes to media editing and integration. And again, you can have the Code Canvas inside a video project, for example. You can have that overlaid over the top of the video where that thing's moving around and you can record your actions. This is how powerful this software really becomes, and this is again why I'm speaking to the people that I'm speaking to and publishing this video to the people that I'm publishing to. We have to stop companies from patenting this. This is too good to patent. We must share this idea, grow this idea, and make a lot of money off it as well, because everybody wants to make money. So what we can do here with the Code Canvas is you can go in, click on it, and it's a code editor. You know, you wouldn't expect a graphics editor and a code editor to be in the same application. But it's because they're not in the same application that we cannot achieve these results for designers, as well as basically programmers who are artists. We're artists in what we make with our code. So that is the simple overview of the canvas, but this application now becomes even more powerful with even more technology. So not only can you embed video projects, and video projects are artboards, and you can embed them into other artboards. Not only can you embed audio, not only can you embed database information, code information that produces a visual output and even makes the canvas live and dynamic. You also have the Excel spreadsheets that you can also link in. Everything linked into one artboard is astonishingly powerful. And nobody has done this. Now also what you can do is use the slides in a slightly different way. So we know that obviously an artboard, you can take this, for example, this equalizer, you can make it an animation. You've got a video that can be animated. Everything can be animated, just like a PowerPoint slide. And yes, that's right. When you open up PowerPoint, you're opening up a blank canvas. So why not take the idea, if you can imagine these are the icons that I've put on the artboard screen here. You can imagine that you can drag your artboards from the left hand side, drag it under slides, under that thread, and then you can look at each slide. You can look at each slide, its interactivity. You can have your presentations now interactive with code as well as video and database information, because they're just artboards that are connected with all that data. And you can preview the animations very quickly right in one application. We must stop this from being patented, and we must develop this idea in an open community. Now finally, it's impossible, you're saying, for this to do any more good than what it already can do. But there's one more section that I've only just recently added, which is 3D VR, virtual reality. And also you can have AR, augmented reality. But for AR, what you can have is you can have a canvas, a 3D environment, an artboard, And you can make a literal 3D environment that people can stand in. Think how powerful that is. You can have somebody called John who's standing, let's say over here. There's John. Joanne, she's standing there. And then you've got Jamie, he's the purple guy over there. And so you can see people in your 3D world and where they stand. And with their visual goggles, with the actual visual goggles that they're wearing, the VR goggles, you can make a 3D scene built around them, and they can see you building the 3D scene. They can also use the tools which they hold on to move objects around that you want to let them move. So now we have connected artboards, which is again something that I'm going to demonstrate in all of this application. It's all about connectivity. It has to be all about connectivity, otherwise there's no point making this. This is the next level of software. So the point is that these people standing in this environment can literally connect to your canvas. You can edit their environment as they're standing in this. They can be playing a game and you can be editing the game as they're playing it. You can be getting feedback as they play it right in VR. That's awesomeness that just simply cannot be rivaled by any software today. And what's really impressive about this idea is the fact that it's again allowing the users, the players that are inside the canvas, to essentially change the environment around them. They also have a contribution. Even though they may not know how to program, they are in the environment, they can look at the environment and say there's something wrong there, that light should be over there, and they grab their tools, the VR tools, and they go ahead and move objects around, and it updates your canvas on the desktop. So everybody's environment stays the same, but what you do in the environment is connected. Now also, of course, with the ability to make this environment, you would always need to go into the code editor to refine the code, add the code. But what code are we talking about? Are we just talking about WebGL? No, as you can see, it's really heating up my MacBook. WebGL is very GPU intensive, but there are solutions. And let's face it, when you want to make a game, you don't want to release it on one thing. You want to release it on as many devices as possible. That way you're going to maximize profits or have an extension of the suite that you currently have. So if you go ahead and take a look at this, you could edit the code, and the code is going to be HAXI and OpenFL. OpenFL allows you to write in a wonderful language called HAXI, and it can be transpiled into multiple languages. So you can edit HAXI right in the project. And HAXI will export out C++, CPP, C#, whatever it is, and it can actually have truly native applications. We're not talking about a silver bullet. We are simply taking a language and converting it into another language and then compiling. And this can all be done with HAXI and OpenFL. OpenFL is like the graphical side to HAXI. And it will literally let you publish native applications on iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and GNU/Linux. So you can literally write one application and it will literally be workable in any environment. And it will be of great speed. It won't be WebGL type stuff because WebGL is not good enough yet to be delivered as a runtime platform. That's why they haven't done it yet, and that's why they won't do it yet. But however, in terms of speed, we need the speed, we need the efficiency of the code, and we need our tool to deliver that. So the only way we can do that is through HAXI and OpenFL. Now finally, after all this wonderful connectivity stuff, don't forget everything is connected. The second golden rule is everything is connected. Artboards are connected to artboards, data is connected to data, and that makes the data more powerful. But what happens when we have multiple people that need to edit the document. Now don't forget, you have got examples of Google Docs and other things like that where multiple people can edit a single artboard or a single piece of data. Well, everything is connected. So an artboard will allow multiple people to connect. Just like with the 3D VR, with the 3D VR, I gave you the example of where everybody's connected and everybody has an input on the environment, while with an artboard, you could have somebody working in the database and the database updates the artboard. You can have several people working directly on the artboard, or you could have somebody working in the video project and the video project gets rendered out and updated on the artboard. You have somebody else working in the spreadsheet data, so if there's an incorrect inconsistency, you don't have to say, right, we'll change the spreadsheet and now we've got to change the slides and we've got to change the artboards. All the data is connected. Simple as that. And also you have the canvas, for example, which it has code inside of it. That code produces an output, can produce interactivity on a slide, on an artboard. This is truly a new way to connect data. It's almost like a social media for data. It's a way for data to socialize, for somebody to work in Excel and the designer to present that information in a company presentation. You're going to get your coder in there. He's going to produce an excellent 3D graphic visualization for you. It's all done in the browser, and she can, or he can, open up the artboard and modify it like crazy, and she can say, right, I want the graph over there, and he can still code and work on the graph, someone else. So it's very segregated, it's very connected, and people can connect to one artboard all at the same time and just edit the same artboard. It truly is a revolution in the way that software works. And if you think that this is just absolutely insanity and it's impossible, I assure you it's not. Because the software itself has to have one of the best architectures, has to be organized and controlled in a very good way. Now, in terms of the way this user interface works, you have to keep it very simple. I'm sick and tired of clunky interfaces with a lot of options. In fact, you'll see half the options that are available to you here in a window, they're all available to you up there in another window, and they're not very accessible and they're not very easy to use. So I'm tired of these interfaces. I'm tired of learning new interfaces every time I actually want to develop something. I have to open up this software and I have to learn completely from scratch again. This is a very simple interface. Yes, you can cram all the options into this window, but depending on what you select, so at the moment we're in the graphics artboard, and if you select the text, it will give you all the options for text and the filters and everything else right in one window, not in several windows. And the window has to work really well. It has to have search in there, it has to have potentially AI in there, so you deliver what you're supposed to deliver at the right time and you're not annoying the user. And the interface has to stay small and clean, nothing massive and huge. Small and clean, get as many options as you can in that little window and make it really efficient. Software today is kind of fat and lazy, where they can extend it over a very large area, and it simply isn't worth doing. And I just want to say that this is all how this is going to work. When you go into video, you're going to the video environment, and this panel will update with the best possible features of what you're trying to edit at the current time. If you're trying to select audio in your timeline, if you're trying to select video in your timeline, if you're trying to select anything in your timeline, this window has to give you the best options that it possibly can at the moment. And it can hide and show depending on what you click on, and the interface has to stay very clean and very simple. And by that, you are essentially stopping what I call the sticky tape effect, which will be like taking, for example, LibreOffice, you take in Writer, you take the spreadsheet, and you just basically putting on sticky tape. You're trying to stick all these interfaces together and it won't work. A Microsoft Office interface will not work with a video editing interface. A Photoshop interface will not work with a video editor interface. An After Effects interface will not work. And you understand, this is why we have these environments here that are separated out. and I can see my whole document of artboards. A document is consisting of artboards. Artboards are embedded in artboards, and you also have other data that can be embedded in artboards. It's that simple. Now, coming back onto connectivity, again, everything has connectivity. Obviously, we know documents, the video editor, and audio, for example. Audio is a big job. And sometimes having that collaboration is very difficult because everybody has to be in the same room at the same time. But what about software that just lets you connect all in one go, several people, in several locations around the world, and you all edit the audio in one go, and you can see each other editing tracks. And again, when they edit something, it's locked to that user. They have a certain amount of time of activity, then it becomes unlocked, and basically you can all edit with one another. Now also, this software is going to be completely different. It's going to be community-based software, which I have community guidelines, and I have every intention of not only allowing the software to be distributed by gratis, which means free. I also want to make money for myself, for my peers, for my partners, and for the developers who develop it. We deserve to be paid. We're giving you a great service and a great environment. But the problem is, what you do nowadays is you wait for the next presentation. Yeah, it's all based on a PowerPoint presentation to release the next great thing. Everything relies on PowerPoint nowadays. However, with us, it's going to be very different. We are going to outpace the competition by community-driven development, and simply no proprietor can keep up with that. We don't want presentations, we want bounties. So if I go ahead and take a look at showing you the bounty wall, so we can go to location, bounty, and what you'll notice here is we have a job, for example, and we have the description of the job, and you can donate, and that's really great. And we can also have like an app store environment for new features. If somebody wants to come along and make a new feature, we'll let them advertise that feature. They must make sure that it respects the freedom of software, and people can donate to develop the idea. And so we allow people to donate, but we also allow people to bid on contracts and to basically take on bounties, just like a bounty hunter. But not only that, we will give them the ability in a menu option up here or in an option here to say experimental features or bounty features. And we'll have something like every month or every 2 months, we'll say, right, a big pop-up comes up and says, look at these brand new features, would you like to donate? Now, you'll probably find most people can't afford £70 a month, but think about everybody downloading this software. And everybody can spare $5, $10, or whatever the amount is for a software feature. And we can have these huge fundraisers for developers. So instead of putting the wealth in the top CEOs' pockets, we, the developers, get the money. We're the ones that are making people very rich. And there's nothing wrong with what we have today, but I think that they're getting a bit too lazy and a bit too greedy with that. And I believe that we're the creative ones. We're the ones that are actually doing the work, and we're the ones that need more of the money because we're the developers. So what you'll be able to do is look at those features inside of the software, and you'll literally be able to have people donating to your feature, but they can see it. They can see the user interface. They can see the rotating buttons, the sliders. You can even have a little mini preview video of what you want your little feature to do. And we as a community will control it, and we will allow people to distribute the software, but the software must be controlled by the community. The community must always check to make sure we must make sure that the software is not maliciously going to affect people's computers, and that it meets a certain quality, because if it doesn't, then it could end up ruining the entire experience and people will go elsewhere. So even though people can copy the software and redistribute it, people will want to stay with us because we will have partners, big names, that will provide professional support, even allow them to edit the code and make special changes for clients when they want it. No other software proprietor is doing that kind of service as far as I'm aware. And not only that, The customers can even submit a user interface design or an idea and say, please build this, and we're willing to pay so much. So we're just constantly driving a community of software. And the community itself will take a portion of the proceeds, like the Blender Foundation, for example, and will put it into the areas where we need to build and develop this software. So it's, for example, it's just like, anybody can copy the Blender software, but people won't, because it's got such a community of developers and support that if you copied it, nobody will want to download your copy, because there simply wouldn't be support, or there wouldn't be development on it to a certain degree. So this software is all about the value in community, the value in open source, not just open source, in fact I should strike open source out of it, in freedom-based software. GPL v2 is freedom-based, where anybody can edit the source code, anybody can edit it, and everybody makes a lot of money. You can imagine if this app takes off, you have millions and millions of users, and let's say even 10% of 20 million users donates $5 for a single feature. That's a lot of money, and that goes directly to a business or a developer who accepts the bounty and develops the software. This is how you make money from this software. You have a community, and you basically are sharing wealth rather than aggregating wealth in one big spot. And that will stop us from being lazy as well, because if we get lazy, we will go out of business. If we continue, and we give a lot of great developers incentives to continue developing for our software, well, there's no need for you wouldn't be able to patent this. Just like I'm doing right now, it will be so popular, so big, that as soon as somebody came up with an idea, they're only allowed to share their idea on our platform if it's an open idea. People donate, they get a bit of money, the developer gets a bit of money, the community gets a bit of money, or a lot of money, depending on how much it is. And we all are building out our software. User space, which is user-driven software, should be in our control. And I think it's only because of big corporations that want to sell very large suites of software. They've had years to develop this kind of stuff, and they have not developed it. And the reason why they haven't developed it is because it doesn't fit with their business model. But we can outpace them. And if they wanted to patent something, for example, they couldn't, because the idea is already out. It's already been invented. It's already in our features right here. We're not waiting. We're not trying to say, this is what you want. We're saying, what do you want? No proprietor can do this. And it's that kind of freedom that makes software development fun again. And it really stops the spy state, for example. There is amazing amounts of creative software that can actually spy on users. We don't know what the software does. We know that it can, for licensing purposes, retrieve a lot of hardware information, a lot of software information. These applications really are quite powerful. And one of the greatest things and the greatest shames is that there's no real excellent creative software for GNU. I want this program to be scalable and to be available on every platform. Haxi and OpenFL will let you do that. It will also be written in Vue.js and also with web technologies like WebGL. That means that you can run it on any platform, anytime. And if we keep the interface as simple, we can even run it on mobile devices as well, and have the mobile devices connected. And one last thing as well before we leave it. With this connected canvas, don't forget you've got VR headsets that connect into the environment and allow you to adjust the environment, but also you can have consoles. So I should have demonstrated that by saying somebody on a console, for example, and they can walk around the scene, and you can see them walking around the scene with their theme and whatever else, their skin, and they can edit the environment via their console. So now they can be on an Xbox, or they could be on a PlayStation, for example, and they can literally contribute to the environment, and they can also see live developments around them. This is a truly immersive world. It's a new connectivity.